Madam Speaker, the problem with team opposition in this debate was that they entirely missed the comparative that we were giving you. The comparative is that on our side, we still allow policemen to be able to respond to extreme situations, the only difference being that they are now able to respond only with force and with proportionality, i.e. when SWAT teams respond to Omar routine. On their side, if they want to actually fight every case of possible violence, and as they admit themselves, they want to arm police to the max, i.e. with grenade launchers and assault rifles to tackle gangs. Not only do they escalate the cycle of violence, but they also increase the hostility that makes it harder for police to do their job, thereby harming minorities, harming entire communities. So that's the lens through which you should view this debate. Who actually protects communities? On our side, we think this comes down to 3 points of clash. First, on who makes communities safer. Second, on whether it's principally legitimate for the police to carry guns. And third, it's something on which we heard very little response. Who improves policing in the long run? This was all our stuff and all the stuff that Josh gave you on people being able to trust the police and the fact that the police is laying down guns as a first step. So let's get on to this first point of clash. We give you a bunch of reasons on how we make communities safer because de facto we stop deaths from occurring here and there, okay? We think this is very, very important. So we think the key question here that came around was, can the police do their job? And they said a lot of things about how the police won't be able to act as a deterrent, etc. 3 responses. First, we'll tell you that in most cases, the kinds of people that the police target are unarmed. So for instance, if a traffic cop stops somebody on the road, that person is likely to be unarmed, right? So we don't think it applies. So for instance, we'll tell you that Tamir Rice was a 12-year-old kid in Cleveland who was playing with a toy gun. Without the policeman having a gun, he would have likely walked in, driven in closer and inspected the situation. But when the guy just has a gun, he can use it on an unarmed child. The second thing we'll tell you that is in most cases, if you tell us that people are so heavily armed, then police can't do anything anyway, right? Because they aren't equipped for those situations. But then here's the third thing, and this is in response to the thing they tell us about, it is in response to the BUI. We ask them on whether they're okay with arming police to the max. They say, yeah, we'll allow them to carry grenade launchers, and implicitly they say that. So we think 2 things to say here. First, if this is true, we think all our points on the problem with excessive force become all the more valid, right? What we mean to say here is essentially, if it's bad that the police carries excessive force, they're okay with them literally carrying assault rifles, which are the kinds of things you need to take down gang members, which they think just patrol the streets everywhere. Second thing we'll tell you is that when they tell us, when they bring us the whole thing about us having SWAT teams, they tell us that we should accept, if we accept the principle of SWAT teams having guns, we should accept everybody having guns. This is different for 2 reasons. First, we think that those SWAT teams are always acting in response to something that is proportional. So we think, for instance, we think we'll take them at their best conception and we say that even if police then from on their side don't carry assault rifles, they still carry Glocks around, they still carry bulletproof vests and lots of other things that are really, really lethal. And we'll tell you that the problem there is that in that case, that usage of weapons or carrying those weapons is never proportionate to a person just jaywalking on the street, right? We think that a lot of crimes that happen are because people are running from the police and they shoot them in the back. Second thing we'll tell you is that the SWAT response is always particular to an incident. We don't think they just can walk around with patrols. Why does all of this matter? We're going to tell you first, we're able to achieve all the benefits of lightly armed police that we tell you on our side of the house, i.e. police being able to take the first step in improving race relations and community relations. Second, we'll tell you that we get deaths only we reduce deaths so much that we only get deaths in the particular case where you have Omar Mateen who is shooting up a nightclub. In which case, yes, you need 1 million helicopters and you need SWAT teams anyway. And they can't hold us to this burden of either everyone being armed or nobody being armed. But then they tell us that guns act as deterrents. 2 responses. First, we'll tell you that no, they actually escalate violence, right? We'll look at the incentives of gang members. If the police gets grenade launchers, we think gang members are far more likely to get bigger and better assault rifles as well. They're not just going to tell people in the community that they're shutting down and they're going to arm. They're not going to be oh yeah, oh my god, this police guy has an assault rifle. I'm just going to lay down my arms. Why? Because that makes them lose face within the community. Brings me to my second point. Let's look at the incentives of people within the community. They support gang members because they see the police as an enemy. Why do they see the police as an enemy? Because if you're growing up in West Baltimore, you've likely had a family member, a cousin, a brother, a father shot by the police. On our side, we get fewer deaths, which means that they're far more likely to be able to listen to the police, they're far less likely to be able to support them. In response to the next thing they tell us on how the police won't get any support, we think it's empirically untrue, right? Look at the UK, for instance, where police only like carry guns in their cars. We think people still listen to like police in the UK. We don't think it's a lawless society unless they're watching Fox News. Then the next thing we're going to tell you, and this is in response to all their points on like, and this is in response to this ludicrous suggestion that Sekhenov brings up on like how they don't see the urgency for our case. Okay, two responses. First, we tell you that brutality plus worsening race relations in the US means that it's not enough to have body cameras and stuff like that. Then the second thing, and this is directly in response to all the stuff they give us about alternative policies. And their alternative policy goes something like this. Let the police be more friendly, okay? Three responses. First, we'll tell you that's not mutually exclusive to the things we tell you. Secondly, we'll tell you that like, when they tell us that accountability exists, we don't actually think that's true. We don't think that kind of accountability exists. Now, why is that the case? Because we think that the people deciding like whether or not the police have overstepped the lines are like usually police boards and like and their own captains and stuff. Those people are overwhelmingly likely to be like white. They're likely to like not come from minority backgrounds. They're likely to not sympathize with the victims. They're more likely to sympathize with police officers. We think we only break that cycle when we're able to get minorities in like within the police force. We're able to do all of that, which is why Josh's points on like everything about long-term change becomes so important. All the stuff that they haven't dealt with on their side of the house. So we think that deals with like all the stuff they tell us about like how the police force actually protects minorities, second of stuff. We don't think they protect minorities, three reasons. First, we think that like minorities don't have political capital as they correctly identified. Secondly, we'll tell you socioeconomic reasons, right? Like communities that are depressed and have minorities are more likely to have crime, therefore police are more likely to be trigger happy. All the stuff Kate gave you that they didn't respond to. Third thing was like the whole systemic thing. The next thing we'll tell you on like vigilantism, this is kind of like a throwaway point from Sekhenov, was that that's unlikely to happen in the first place because when you have like, because there's no reason that people are like any more likely to act against people with like with crime. We think for two reasons. First, because they can just like trust the police more and now they just tip them off. And secondly, because like they have no incentive to do that within the status quo. The next thing we'll tell you on whether or not it's principally legitimate for the police to carry guns. We give you a bunch of reasons on proportionality, yes.
Sir, how do you expect minority groups now to defend themselves, given that there's no police force there to back them up?
Okay, so first thing, we don't think like the police officers within minority communities were protecting them in the first place, right? They're more likely to shoot them up. Secondly, we think they'll still be able to respond to incidents. Thirdly, we tell you that in the long run, we actually improve like a lot of problems with policing. What they don't get is that when it comes to minority communities and police relations, the problem is not about the police protecting them. The problem is about the police actively killing them. So their burden is to show us how that stops, right? So on this thing about like proportionality, we told you that the police carries guns as self-defense. They told us that there's a gradual escalation of violence. That doesn't happen. Three things. Firstly, they didn't respond to all the stuff on race and how police are more likely to be trigger happy in that case. They missed our nuance, which was that we don't think every police officer is racist, but we think they're systemically racist. So they're more likely to shoot black people when they see them on the street at night because they think that they're more likely statistically to be criminals. Second thing, no response to all the stuff on fear that we gave you. Very, very important. Third thing we'll tell you is that escalation is arbitrary. It's up to the police force to decide whether or not to use a baton or whether or not to use a gun. Which means that essentially you're giving a police officer, i.e. an agent of the state, coercive authority over other people. We think that's massively illegitimate. We don't think that can happen. And so we think on their side of the house, if they tell us that racism still exists, we don't think that racism is killing people. And on our side, all we had to prove to you was not that racism doesn't goes away. All we had to prove to you was that there are less deaths and less black people and less Tamil racists are dying on the streets of Cleveland. We think we've done that very well, so we think we won this debate.